just so we have some record. Um, okay. Yeah. So, Sai, have you met Carlos?
No. Hi, Carlos. Nice to meet you.
Oh,
Saya, nice to meet you.
yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. So, yeah. So Carlos is, a new person, a new member. Carlos was somebody who came in, and found us. We had an intro chat, and then he's like, "Yeah, this sounds great," and I'm like, "Great, you're in." It was one of those things, and then it was, so he's sort of like helping, kind of like lead the way in a sense, with new sort of alpha members because, then I was like, oh, geez, maybe somebody else wants to like, have a choice, right? If like somebody wants to, become a member, and what is that process? So we've been working on that. But Carlos kind of scooted right through. So yeah, yeah, if y'all would like to, introduce yourselves and share a little bit about, what you're doing, and Saya, just sort of yourself, and then what your history with HSC has been. That'd be
Sure.
cool.
Sure. Great. Um, Carlos, I'm a writer and an editor and do content creation for other folks' small businesses, for the most part. And soon to launch my first website personally. I've been working word of mouth for about 15 years, pretty
Wow.
small scale. Yeah, I've been also raising two kids and focusing a lot on that. But they're getting bigger, and so my business is getting bigger. And been participating in HSC meetings for almost a year. Um, and yeah, really excited about this next iteration of what's happening here. And I'm kind of popping into today's meeting, not sure what your agenda is, and just yeah, here to see what's up.
Awesome. Great. Great to meet you. And well, as Rob said, I found HSC through a LinkedIn post, started visited the website, and one thing, like it happened very quickly. And at some point, I became a member. Like it was really quick. And I've been in sales partnership, both as a founder and an employee for most of my professional career. Um, and a couple of years ago, I heard about the regenerative ecosystem, and I got super curious. And the last couple of months, I decided to take the leap and yeah, like quit my job, my business as usual job, and commit to joining the regenerative ecosystem and find where my highest point of contribution is.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a journey. I stumbled upon HSC, found it fascinating, like all the different pieces and the project you're building. So I said, like, why not? Let's make this happen and collaborate any way I can. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, and super excited to be here.
Hmm.
Awesome. Great. I'm happy to meet you. And we certainly can use folks who have sales experience. So yay. Thanks for bringing
Awesome.
and much more, I'm sure, that you bring. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Carlos is bringing a lot of different, skill sets that, are very, complementary to, what we're doing here. So it's great. Yeah, really appreciate, jumping in, and so Saya, I'll catch you up on, maybe like the last week, right? Yeah, there's a couple more people who like there's, specifically like three people who have had, these intro chats with, and who are just like, sort of just they're like, yeah, let's go, let's do this,
Mm.
So really, I think, a lot of what we're doing now is kind of trying to figure out, where, like start like this on, outreach and onboarding process, and figure out what the steps are, and then what we need to do, so it's like, I think the idea is that for each successive person that comes in, we have kind of like more of the of that process and the materials for it, set up. And more like kind of decisions made on how we, like how we want to do things and what it means to be a member and all of that. Um, so yeah, so that's that's where we're at now, and I think it's yeah, I appreciate you coming here. I think that we could jump back into asana because we're kind of talking about like the current tasks, and I know that you've been working on some of them. So how does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Deborah has jumped in. Yeah, so maybe we all, or at least, like you three, three, mind introducing yourselves? Whoever can start. Sai, and I know Sai and Carlos, you already did this, but you can.
Okay. Well, since they didn't already did, I'll start. I'm Deborah A. I'm a holistic leadership mentor. I am based in on the unceded lands of the Hohokam and O'odham people in Phoenix, Arizona, in the United States. And my specialty is psychological safety and trust. So basically, I help purpose-driven leaders and organizations grow that for real and all that that involves. And for each group and individual, it's going to look a little different. So that's a little bit about me. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Deborah.
Great.
Cool.
Well, I can share. I'll put a different spin on it since Carlos heard my A part. I'll just repeat the part about I'm a writer and an editor, and I help people create any kind of text content for their business. And some of the things that are really important to me and that I'm quite passionate about is how do we cross bridges? How do we hear each other across our differences? And how do we function as humanity, given that I'm not very hopeful that we're all going to agree on everything anytime soon. And so we still need to operate and survive and ideally thrive, um, and learn new tools for doing that and be uncomfortable enough to do that while also comfortable enough to do that. So, yeah, and I'm excited that we're having more people joining HSC, bringing their different skills and worldview and orientations, and even just the mapping of what are our working styles, what are our communication styles, how do we approach and collaborate and like lean in, are all really interesting things for me to be looking at and considering. Yeah, Carlos.
Cool. Thanks, Sai.
Nice. Well, I will also give a different version from earlier. So I'm Carlos. I am traveling slowly through the world. I'm based in Romania and currently in Georgia, in Tbilisi, Georgia. And I left the business as usual space after 15 years in sales, growth related roles, to commit to the regenerative ecosystem. It's a space that continues to impress me because I keep finding people that use words like purpose driven or bridges. Like that's the kind of conversations I like having, and the kind of change I think needs to happen soon to yeah, like adapt to the things that are clearly not working on a bigger scale and depleting us and giving us all sorts of uh, challenges and issues. So I am passionate about both sales and economics, and I want to find a better way to work, to live in harmony with nature. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Saya and Carlos for introducing yourselves again. Yeah, I'm just delighted, that by everybody who's here and by all the the different perspectives and skill sets, that we're bringing in the energy, and it's just, yeah, it's freaking great. There was something, yeah, I really liked this, and so I don't know, maybe Carlos, you would, Deborah, you mentioned like terms that you're using in the next economy MBA for like sales and for marketing. Would you mind sharing those? Because I just those that stuck with me. I was like, oh, those are good.
Yeah, so I asked about that, and they reframe marketing as relationship building and sales as alignment.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm gonna put that in the notes, in
Hmm.
our meeting notes. Um, Alignment. Yeah, I couldn't remember that one, even though Mark. Mhm. Sorry, I can't multitask, so that's why I
You're
think
fine.
you all know that. MB.
Apparently, those of us who think we can multitask are actually just task switching more times than is probably to our best interest.
You're task switching faster.
Very
I don't
fast.
know. Yeah, maybe. I've seen some people like what I perceive as multitask. They're like having like this whole conversation with me, and then they're like working on, I don't know, like their budget or something, at the same time. And it's just, yeah, it's a marvel. So, um, yeah. All right, so let me ask you all something. Well, first of all, how are folks doing on time? Because there are a couple things that I'd love to get people's opinions on. So I want to just check in on time and when if there's any people have to jump.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'd be here for another half hour. That's what I've got. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so then maybe let's jump back into asana, for another like 10 minutes. We can always come back to that and then like check in on these couple things that, I think would be great for people to, folks to weigh in on.
Okay.
Um, so
We account for that,
sorry, I
on
just
balance with who's participating. Like we it's been a while since Christine's been participating quite a lot, for example, and it's been a very inconvenient meeting time for her. And now we're adjusting. We're seeing we have more international participation, not only her, but you folks too. And it makes sense to adjust the time for those who are here, who are available. And I think there may be a time when we have a big enough group, but we also start to see that, oh, some people are really present here. And why is that? Is it because it works for their schedule, or is it because that's the amount of energy they have available for HSC right now? And how many people do we try to encompass, considering some of those factors also? Does that question make sense? Like if we're
yeah.
swinging a fishing net, like we're not going to get all the fish, but maybe all the fish don't really want to be got because they're not that available. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great point and something to monitor along the way.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna say,
really it is, yeah. Oh yeah, Carlos.
I think it was Deborah. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
it
I
was Deborah.
didn't.
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, I found with these kinds of things that there's always this like equilibrium that is met. And no matter how much we try to think about it or plan for how it's going to look, it always looks different and it always is perfect. So as long as we like, think about, because I remember I had a program and I had someone in Australia and I had someone in Turkey. And that was interesting trying to get that to work. So I ended up having two times. I had an evening for me, one was in the evening and one was in the mid morning. And then, some people went to the evening one, some people went to the mid morning one, and they just didn't really cross paths very often. But it was what it was, and that was how we were able to navigate it. And yeah, like it just made sense for everyone. So I'm just curious if like if we have like a similar thing where there's one slot that works for one part of the world, one slot that works for another part of the world, and then everyone kind of figures out what they want to do. And or if there's like a recording, like maybe there's a section of the meeting that is just like more formal and recorded so that everyone can still, those who couldn't make it in person could still, hear some of it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think that's a good, that's a good mindset. Definitely. Like we can, and then, I think that's, we're trying to make like the best decision we can here, and then it's just, right. It is what it is, and we
Yeah.
adjust. Cool.
Yeah.
Um,
I really appreciate this, the tool that you found, the Let Us Meet. I've been telling a few people about it. It's great, great tool.
yeah, it's
Thanks for
great.
bringing it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank Newman. Newman brought it
Oh,
to me.
great.
Yeah. See, these are the little things, that we get, right? Like that, we get from just this working together, right? That it's just, and I love it, right? So I wish I had a gratitude token to send to Newman soon. Um, all right, great. That's great. Thank you. That was a really helpful discussion. I like where we're at. Saya, before you leave, I just want to catch you on, I'm gonna put the a new share. I want to catch you on this because I know that we talked a lot about this, and I know that you had where are the member agreements here? I know that like you had some good ideas on this, and I just want to check back in. So now Carlos and I worked on this last week. So I think, like that's like, so I think for both of us, this is kind of where we're at. So Saya and Deborah love to, or, Carlos, if you have new thoughts, to just weigh in as, if you like, on the current version of the member agreements. I think we're pretty close on this. Um, the biggest questions that I have, are like, the ones where we're, like, do we make these required? Right now, we have them as highly recommended. Do we make them required? And then the other, the biggest question I have is, um, are we just saying like, hey, everybody needs to like sign up for the monthly membership, fee deposit, and we can have a sliding scale. That's what Carlos and I were talking about, or do we say, like, if finances really are a challenge, then like it's okay not to do that, but you just have to kind of take on a role. And then there's also the question of like what is the combination of these, is there like a baseline, right? So if we say it's like $10 or $15 a month, then if somebody pays that, do they have to like still take on some kind of operational role? Is there like a little bit that's a baseline, or is just that enough of a baseline, and then if somebody, sort of goes farther down the sliding scale, I don't know, because we were talking about like these required parts and then these checkbox kind of parts. Um, and so I'm just trying to kind of refine that. So yeah, love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, thank you, Deborah. Yeah.
Well, we were just talking about this in NEMBA. Transparency breeds trust. That's one of the key ingredients for having a trust, based space. So if you're like, okay, these are our expenses, this is maybe like a little bit of a pot, like a pot that we'd like to have for emergencies or for whatever kind of thing, and then say, and this is how many members we have. So, divide this number by this number of members. This could possibly be a suggested if you're able to, if you're not, like letting people self-select as to how much they're able to contribute financially, and trusting in reciprocity is like, to be human is to want to reciprocate. So to trust that people will say, okay, maybe I can't put this whole amount in, maybe I can put a little bit of it in, but then I can also volunteer, 2 or 3 hours to help with something else. Letting people self-select, understanding like where all that where the financial piece, just like anything else, is going, um probably would resolve that. Because like if I saw it and I was like, okay, you're recommending that each member pay $50 a year or whatever, and I'm like, okay, right now I don't have that, maybe I only have $20, but I can volunteer 2 or 3 hours to do a class or do something or help out in whatever is needed, that is truly needed in this moment. I can figure that out if I know kind of what's going on. But and then if I have more, if I have $500, I'm like, well, here, I'll just put this in for the people who can't put the whole amount in, right? So I don't know. I just feel like if you're transparent and sharing like what the needs are completely in all 8 value flows, including financial, then people can, I don't think we'll have an issue with people filling those needs as they're able.
Mm. Hmm. I'm making notes on the thing, but yeah, thank you. Thank you.
That sounds great. I like the idea, maybe this is what you meant, Deborah, or I'll build on it. I'll build on what I heard, that that people also are self-selecting what they can financially contribute and what effort and energy they can voluntarily contribute, and that there's not some proportional relationship between those two. Are we all on the same page with that?
Hmm.
I don't know. Say a little bit more about that last statement about there's not a proportional relationship between the two.
Sure. So, if I were to say that my financial contribution would be on the lower end, am I then expected to volunteer more, to put in more hours? Is there a relationship between financial and other contributions? My preference would be that there's not, and that there's, again, like you said, that transparency about what the needs of the cooperative are in terms of operation, in terms of roles, in terms of tasks, and people step forward for what they choose to um, around that. Is that
Hmm.
is that making sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that's making sense. I think it comes. I didn't think about it like that, but I guess that's the way like my brain will be like because I see the other. So let's say it's experiential capital, and I have some experience doing something that others need that experience for. Like I'm putting that in a bucket just like I'm putting money financial in a bucket, but maybe everyone's brain doesn't work the way mine does. So what you're saying is totally valid. I just didn't think of it like that, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give an example. Like, my children go to a cooperative charter school, and not too long ago, the new administrator, head of school, put out a call for financial contributions towards field trips for the kids. And then he wrote something like, oh, and if you can't contribute financially for field trips, like be sure to volunteer for these events this year. And the concern is that people who are not making a lot of money might not also have a lot of time to volunteer, and to equate those two, I believe, is a problem. And he actually amended it. I think someone caught him on it, or anyways. So I appreciated the mindfulness about that kind of thing. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Yeah. So yeah, Carlos.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I just want to touch on something you said, Rob, during one of our meetings. You said the HSC is ours. I think that that sense of belonging, life, it comes with up and downs. Sometimes you don't have time or money. Sometimes you have both. Like it's this dynamic equilibrium of right now I can be full time here. I can give myself to the project. I think, yeah, I mean, it's kind of the energy that I've been finding in the ecosystem. So I trust it will play out one way or another.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Deborah, you had
Yeah,
something
I
to say?
guess so. Then my follow-up question, and this is pure curiosity, is like, if someone doesn't have like, we live in a society that's time poor, and please don't get me started on that topic. But like, if someone doesn't have time and they don't have money, like, okay, so then what else? Is it like, is it just that they're more kind of like observer members for a while? Like as Carlos was saying, like no one, I am the last person to want to ever impose on someone, but I guess my question is, what would be the vision of how people would contribute if it wasn't financially or with their energy and time?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the document. I think there are sort of two, like the requirement for all members. Does that encompasses some contribution, right?
Yeah, that encompasses, it encompasses like kind of like community contributions,
Yeah.
and like those, like the community contributions, are pretty like a la carte, at large. And so, right, like that's that's a big piece of what's going to help. But I think that the financial, fiat money contributions and like actual like internal, operations, tasks and projects and roles, I think those do hold a special place
Yeah,
because without these, it just, like the ship doesn't float. And
absolutely.
so, yeah. And so that's why it seems like, I want to say like some of this is required. And I think that the question here, right, and like that we're bringing up and that Deborah just mentioned is like whether it's, all of one or all of the other or a combination, what is like that minimum amount, and how do we measure that? So and right, and maybe, and it's like, oh, well, maybe somebody like all the other kinds of contributions, somebody's just, like a machine at, right? So they don't do any of this, but they're making like tons of voucher exchanges all the time, and putting in all these vouchers. And so it is, right, it is, not sort of cut and dry.
Yeah.
But I do
Yeah,
think
I
there's this,
agree.
there
Mhm.
is this aspect where we do have to say like, like if somebody's not, is not contributing, at like the same level of as everybody else, like, like should they, be an active member, right? And this isn't, I mean, to me, like the way I think about it is, right, like there's an active member and there's a community member, right? And it's not, one's not better than the other. It's not that you have, it's sort of like, hey, I don't have time, to be a member now and can, and sort of contribute at this minimum level. Okay, you're a community member, so right, you're still there, but we're not, yeah. Um, but anyways, yeah. So so how do we say, for these, for like all of it, right? The different kinds of contribution, even though I'm singling these two out. It's kind of a fascinating question, like. Because like Carlos is saying, right? Like he's like, Carlos is like, oh, well, I friggin' did like tons, over like 3 months, and now, I don't have a lot of time. So now we're saying, oh, I can't be an active member, or, it's just maybe that's part of the community exploration.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Saya, just really quickly though, I was curious, did you have something else in mind that you were thinking of? Like if someone didn't have time or money? I am genuinely curious.
No, I hadn't got to that point. I had just
Okay.
gotten to the point of decoupling those two like
Okay.
areas of contribution,
Okay.
not having them be sort of dependent on each other. I hadn't made the leap to what you're asking, which is a great question. I think there's such a strong value for participation and engagement here that I would hope people are here to contribute and participate, but how to sort of quantify that in a good way. I'm not sure. We had talked about compensation for, and maybe I haven't seen this recently, like acknowledgement for the operations roles that people are doing. And do we exchange vouchers? Do we award vouchers for that? And how does that generate something?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. In the current design, there is actually um right, like more incentive, and more sort of value given to like these, operational roles. Again, the community can kind of decide that. And right, so like if I do an operational task, right, I might get like 60 tokens, whereas if I whatever, right, everything, it just depends. And then those tokens, right, equate to the tokens convert into vouchers. Right. So you are getting like that's the thing with the tokens, right? For everybody, you're getting these essentially free, goods and services. But or and no, no, not but and what we've pinpointed is that those operational roles, the idea, the intention is for them to actually get paid some fiat money. Right. So the more this works, over time, the hope like, oh, okay, this internal economy really works and we have more and more resources coming in and being pooled, all of that is that the people, it sort of takes some of the edge off of this anyways, because that those people are doing operational roles, they're getting paid money. And it might not be, at first, it might not be a lot of money, but it's some. So hope, well, but I think that's the idea. That's really the design is that those people, who the operational roles is like the curation, right? It's the curation of the community, and that curation, you know, is in and of itself, like a job, something that
Um,
that I would, right? Like that the community would then like want to support somebody to just be able to do, right? So kind of a
Yeah.
long answer to
And
that.
I really like the idea that those who are holding roles also have vouchers in hand, which means that they can then, exchange skills and services with folks in the community. Um, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And we all can, but that's really like that currency that you earn, here. Like, but if I want Saya's services, then I need to put in a voucher of mine.
Right.
So it is resources of mine. But right, if I'm when we're earning contributions, and especially these roles, operational roles, then I'm just earning like, oh, now I get a voucher of Saya's services. I don't have to, and I already did my thing.
Right.
Hmm.
Cool. Well,
It's a
thank
good
you for all
discussion.
this work organizing this uh, onboarding document. It's very impressive. It's a lot in here.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And so, okay, any other thoughts on the member agreements?
I Here's a bit of getting to know me. I do some of my best thinking like solo and then make notes and then bring it back to the group on that sort of thing. So I will make a note to myself to take a look at that one more time if that makes sense. If there's time for that, or if you do you need to
No, no, I mean, I think that this
yeah.
discussion is great because this discussion shines the light, excuse me, on what this is going to be anyways, which is, an exploration. Like I don't see, like us being able to come in and say, hey, these are like this is exactly, the amount of money that you need to put in, or this is exactly, like the amount of hours that like it's just, it doesn't seem like that is like it doesn't seem like that's what we want to sort of create. Like that doesn't seem to make as much sense to us here as like saying, hey, we're tracking all this anyways. Let's just track it, keep it transparent. We're in this community and see what actually works
Yeah.
and create,
Yeah, I mean,
right? Create the thing that we want to create.
totally. I think like I just want to bring something that popped to my mind. I think using Daniel's pink drive thesis of intrinsic motivation, and once money is out of the table, at least I'm gonna speak in first person. If I can find a way to get money out of the table for me, the intrinsic motivation of getting mastery purpose um, through building and collaborating in the ecosystem and in the project, like that would be for me like the sweet spot. Like I have my needs covered, then I want to give back to society, and this is the project I choose. So I think, in a way, trusting this abundance and that like just sensing and responding to what happens, especially at early stages. But
Mm,
I believe that it's gonna be figured out organically and hopefully sooner than we think. But yeah,
mm.
my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Appreciate
That sounds great. Okay, so then we'll go, right, there's still questions about this, but I don't even know that we need to answer them now. I think yeah, that feels great. That feels very helpful. So yeah, thanks folks. Because it does feel important to know now because, people are going to come in and they're going to, like that's a very reasonable thing for somebody to ask, about like, okay, what do I need to, what are my accountabilities? And so, now we have the answer with the question in it. Yeah, cool. Um, okay. Well, all right. Well, I see that we've got like 10 minutes left. Um, let's see. I'm gonna ask this of Christine. I have so Sai, this is kind of a question for you, but I just want to open it up to, to anyone. Like, um, where are you at as far as like being able to help with, like sending the emails, even if it's not writing them? Is that something that's
Oh,
not kind of in your
taking up that admin task again.
capacity?
Um,
Yeah. Resume. I can check out. I mean, I think maybe I mostly already did, but I've just, there's like there's a lot happening, and I'm just delighted by, folks coming in and like like these tangible things that we're doing, and right, it just continues to motivate me, and then, f figure out, how to get the app going, and um, yeah, just really appreciate it. It's my checkout.
For me, well, I really love puzzles, and I feel like there's a lot of like small clusters of pieces coming into place. Like I see the big picture, and like I can sense that there's a lot happening, and pretty soon it will look completely different. So super excited to have joined at this point.
Mm, yeah, thank you.
um, I just reflecting on when I started coming to meetings in November and started participating pretty quickly. And yeah, just really appreciating there's a genuine like culture of collaborating here that allows people to jump right in and to genuinely be welcomed and included as like pretty full participants if they choose. Um, and I appreciated it then, even though it felt unfamiliar. Like, should I just observe a bunch of meetings before I like make a proposal or do a thing, and yeah, just like kudos to this whole group for creating a space where people can bring their whole selves and really show up. So yay, and yay for new folks who seem to catch the vibe and be willing to also jump right in as much as you choose.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So my checkout. I saw the meeting when I looked at your link, Rob, this morning, and I was like, oh, I have this meeting and then I have this other meeting. I'm not gonna be able to make it. And then the second one canceled. I was like, ooh, I can hop in. So I'll hop in for the last 8 minutes and just try to see if I can find out when the next meeting is and like what they're doing a little bit. And it's so funny because I don't know why I thought it was going to be that linear. And now I have more questions than I came in with. So this is always a fun thing. But yeah, I'm excited. I have a sense of excitement and gratitude for a space that feels receptive to the intellectual and experiential and the social capital that I bring. And I'm very excited about that because um, I didn't think it would be that hard if I was willing to collaborate to get to do it. Like it was so you had the opposite experience of me, Saya, because I was like ready to run with like all the like last year I started in September, like joining different like checking out different projects and I was like, yeah, let's go, let's do this thing. And everyone was like, whoa, what are you gonna calm down? We got another 6 months of debate on academics to do here, lady. Chill out. And so I was like, wait, what? So I mean, I'm happy to finally be in spaces where I can actually get, I get excited when I get to do things and play with things and not just talk about them.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's what we're doing here, you know? We're like doing this. We're not just talking about it. We're playing in it and we're like really creating it. There's only so much like modeling you can do. Mm.
Okay,
Thank you. Yeah, thank
great.
you all so
I'm
much.
gonna
And
sign off.
bye, Saya. I'm actually dropping a Discord link in the chat because you act right that brought in something you said, Deborah brought in that, yeah, if y'all, so we do have a Discord group. Um, it's not, it's like super active, but that's right now, that's like the sort of, chat. Um, I don't know, we're not using it, like, yeah. But that is like, the sort of group chat, uh, platform that we're using. And, hopefully we can get something that's like integrated with the app or, like, as we go along, but that's not like the first feature. So if you'd like to join that Discord group, go for it.
Yeah,
Sure.
I guess. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You go ahead.
I guess that was my question was just like, there's a lot of stuff there. If you want to direct me to something I don't want to just hop in not knowing anything and, mess things up. So if there's something that is a little like untouched that you're like, okay, Deborah, you can start here and we'll know that you messed it up because nobody else is in that document, like cool. Or yeah, that would be cool. And then also when the next meeting is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the next scheduled meetings well, actually, I think that I wonder if we're going to change, the next meeting. It'll be Tuesday, right? So
Okay.
it's just, I
Okay.
wonder if we're going to change it, to, um, start at like five, at like, what was it, five? If we're going to
Mhm.
change to start it at like 4:30 or five.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But I think definitely, it'll be right within this kind of window. It's just going to be like either an hour and a half, I think, or 2 hours later.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, for
Go
sure.
ahead, Carl. Go ahead, Carlos.
No, yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, um, yeah, like a clarifying question. If I write, Carlos is writing about this in the document, like, is that the place to start, um, developing ideas and filling the gaps of content.
Yeah. Sorry, in which document?
Like in the alpha outreach and onboarding materials.
Yeah, I think that is our collaborative working document. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I think we all just like, start writing in there. Writing like the material in there, right? We can use yeah, and at a certain point it might get like too big and too messy and we might have to separate it out. But for now, yeah, I say we just, we can start in there and
Great.
right. And sometimes I'll also, right, like sometimes if I'm like really in like my initial writing, and it's like messy, like I do it on another document and then I say, okay, this is kind of like my draft, for the moment, and then I can drop it in there, but whatever, I think we'll figure it out.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you all so much. Yeah, again, such a pleasure. And yeah, we'll be in touch very soon. And yeah, more to come. And I know Deborah, there's still some. I'll invite you into the Asana board, and I know I've got to get folks into like the shared drive and all that. So just yeah, let's do that as quick as I can.